Well, hello, and welcome from Sacramento, California, and Beach Island, South Carolina, to today's webinar, 5 Ways to Educate Your Advertisers in 2014, sponsored and hosted by 360 Ad Sales and WebAttract, the leaders in thought leadership webinars. And you are in the right place to hear from Ryan Dohrn, who's going to share with you 5 new ideas you can use in 2014. Hi, I'm Mike Agron. I'm the co-founder and executive webinar producer with WebAttract, and I'll be your moderator and one of your hosts for today's session. In just a moment, I'm going to be introducing our featured speaker, Ryan, who's going to be sharing what he hopes you get out of today. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who's in the audience. As you can see, we've got over 200 media professionals that have registered for today's event, representing the various types of media that you see on the screen. And we've invited you because you have said you are looking for a new take on some ways to take your advertiser education to the next level in 2014. And we want to give you those ideas with minimal investment of time, money, and staff. But regardless of your industry, media type, or location or affiliation, we're confident you're going to find today's webinar to be of value. And now, I want to bring on our special guest and presenter, Ryan Dohrn. And I think most of you probably know him personally or know of him. But for those of you that don't, he's the founder and sales training expert of 360 Ad Sales Training. Ryan's trained over 3,000 media sales reps around the globe on TV, radio, and magazine ad sales to produce proven results. He also runs another company called Brainswell Media, where he offers strategic planning for companies looking to grow sales leads and train their teams to grow revenue through non-traditional methods. He's someone that I've really enjoyed getting to know and collaborate with. He's a true sales professional, colleague, mentor, and friend. And as you can see on your screen, we've got Ryan Dohrn. So now it is my pleasure to turn it over to you. And thanks so much for being with us, Ryan.
You bet, Mike. Thanks so much for that great introduction. Always wish that my mother could be present to hear such nice things. To this day, she still has no idea what it is that I do for a living. So I always try to, I guess maybe it's good, keep it a little bit of a secret. So, well, first of all, welcome to everybody. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you that have joined us today. And I always find it to be just a real blessing and a real privilege to be able to communicate with all of you. I see a lot of friends, a lot of customers, and then also some new names on the list. So welcome. And again, Mike, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to talk about something that's really, really important to all of my customers. So the goal of this webinar today is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And as Mike said, we'd love to get your questions. The goal today to share with you 5 step-by-step ways to be able to increase your revenue with advertiser education. I think we all would agree that advertisers, people in general, don't buy what they don't understand. So one of the things that's interesting, whether I'm in Germany speaking to a group of publishers or in Nashville, Tennessee, one of the most common things I hear is, listen, Ryan, we need to sell more digital. Or we're selling digital and now our advertisers don't want to buy print from us anymore. A lot of it comes down to 2 factors, and that is salespeople being better educated, and that's obviously the core to my business. The other piece, though, that I've found that's been a dramatic, just a really awesome success for my customers is when they put in place an advertiser education program. Now, to that end, a lot of you have limited resources. Some of you are small publishers. Some of you are big publishers, and because of that, you really can't get something done because you just don't have the ability to be agile. One of the things I hate is hearing from people that give me 50,000-foot view ideas that are so big, nobody could make them happen unless, as an example, you were a 5,000 employee publishing company in some big major city. So our goal today is to make the impossible possible, and to that end, we want to focus in like a laser on some really important issues. So I've had the opportunity to ask small and mid-sized business owners and large agencies, what are some of the topics that are very important to you? What are things that you, Mr. or Mrs. Small Business Owner, would really like to know more about in 2014? And these are going to be the core of our advertiser education programs. Now, Perhaps when I give you these, you'll say, Ryan, I'm a B2B publisher. I don't know if these exactly fit. Well, what you'll want to do is you want to survey your advertisers and say, listen, here's what we're going to do. In 2014, we're going to have some programs to help you grow your business. In a non-sales way, we want to bring these programs to you. What are 4 topics that we could present, hire a speaker on, an expert on, whatever it is, and be able to educate you in 2014? Because I think you would agree to me, we cannot pitch new media ideas to people that don't understand those ideas. Remember, I've said this 1,000 times, and many of you are beginning to believe me on this. Advertisers, people in general, are adverse to risk. They're not going to buy what they don't understand. So if we can educate them and get them excited, we can typically turn them into a really good advertiser. So to that end, what's our goal as publishers, as media companies? I know some of you on the webinar today are outside of the publishing community, and we welcome you as well. Create an advertiser education program. That's our goal, that will help our advertisers understand these 3 things. And I'd love for you to jot this down. Number 1, as a salesperson, and I sell every day, okay, so a lot of you that know me, you know that I'm not just a coach, I'm not just a consultant. I sell the 3rd largest paying equestrian event in the country. I also sell media for magazines when I'm not on the road. Number 1, I want advertisers to know that I understand their pain, okay, that I'm relevant. You know, if you had a goal for 2014 as a salesperson, I'd love for you to write this down, okay? Be exceedingly relevant, okay? People don't like generic, all right? There's nothing wrong with vanilla ice cream, but don't you always like it a little better when there's some flavor on top or some sprinkles on top? That's what I want to be as a salesperson, all right? I want to be the best I can be and not be generic. I want to understand their pain. I want to be a resource to my advertisers. If you are seen as a salesperson, honestly, do you think that advertisers like salespeople? I mean, do you think they woke up this morning and said, oh gosh, I hope that Ryan Dohrn calls today because I want to buy a print ad, okay? The likelihood of that is pretty unlikely, and I've got some good customers, all right? We want to offer solutions through our advertiser education programs that are going to help them. We want to do this in a non-threatening way. We want to make sure that these advertisers understand that the goal of this is to help them become better marketers of their business. And guess what? If they're better marketers and they understand better, then guess what's going to happen? They are going to buy more multimedia products from us. All right, now, Mike, if you would be so kind, let's take a quick poll for everybody to participate in. And the question we'd like to ask you today is, for you, each one of you answer this question. Our formal advertising education program is, and choose one of the following. Either you don't have one, you meet and train with your advertisers quarterly, you only see your advertisers at trade shows, or the 4th option there, we're here today because we want to learn how to create one. Look at that, a good split. Don't have one, 39%. Some quarterly, some 18% meet quarterly. Only see our advertisements at trade shows, 6%, and are here today to learn how to create one, 37%. So, all right, let's keep rocking forward. Now, one of the goals here is we have to understand that we have to do this, put together our advertiser education programs in a non-sales way. One of the things as we're communicating these advertiser education programs to our clients is we have to help them intimately understand that when they come to one of our programs, whether it's live, whether it's e-newsletters, whether it's webinars or whatever, that we're not going to be selling to them. Now, let me give you an example. There wasn't that long ago that I was in the TV business selling and marketing and advertising, and we would actually bring our advertisers into the studio. We'd talk about programs, and then we'd sort of lock the doors and try to sell them something. That is not what I'm talking about. That worked for us for a time, and then guess what? Advertisers are smart. They figured it out. So the best way to handle this is not a sales pitch, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to offer them something to really, really answer these 4 main questions. So in the survey that we did prior to putting together this webinar, here are the 4 main things advertisers in the B2B and consumer market wanted to learn about. Number one, how to better market their business using social media. Woo, it's a little scary there. That one's a little scary for me as a print and multimedia sales rep. Number two, this is a little more B2B oriented, lead gen from their websites. They want to figure out ways to generate leads. Number three, of course, they always want to figure out, because they're all broke, right? They all want to figure out how to reduce their marketing costs, okay? Hope some of you are laughing along with me, okay? Number four, they want to learn about videos to drive their business. They're seeing activity on YouTube, etc., so they want to learn about videos to drive their business. Now, this leads us to idea number one, which is monthly local business advisor e-newsletters or monthly industry business advisor e-newsletters. Now, let me be clear on our objective here, because some of you won't go down this road because you don't want to involve the editorial team or add any more stress there, and you're thinking that this is something that's going to require a lot of effort. Our objective of this first idea is to become a resource to advertisers by providing a simple and relevant, providing to them simple and relevant marketing information or industry insights via email on a monthly basis. Again, the idea is, idea number one, monthly local business advisor e-newsletters, or maybe if you're in the B2B space, monthly industry business advisor e-newsletters. Now, what's the step-by-step on this and how do we do it? Number one, and I want you to be really, really airtight on this, okay? Number one, you do not have to create or ask your editorial team to create content. We're going to talk about that. Number two, what I found to be most successful is just sharing links. Okay, I found that to be most successful. Okay, now number three, okay, it's about your brand. All right, so it's important that, you know, there is a bit of a branding message there, but we don't want to oversell. We want this monthly e-newsletter to be resource-based. Now, it's sent via email monthly to advertisers that are in your CRM tool or your database, okay? Now remember, this is not about sales. This is not about deadlines. And I know what happens. You can't resist the urge when you're sending out an email, okay, to your advertisers to throw in a little bit of promotion or a little bit of a sales pitch. I mean, it won't hurt anything, Ryan. Let's put it in PS at the end, a little postscript. Remember something. Advertisers, albeit some of them are not the brightest, you know, but they're always going to figure it out if you're trying to fool them, all right? So it's important for us to understand that, number one, each advisor update is going to have 3 stories in it that you're going to share, 3 links. So I'm not asking you to create any content, all right? What you're going to do is you're going to go to websites like Inc.com, FastCompany.com, Forbes.com, MarketingSherpa.com. You're going to go to these websites, or maybe industry websites, or perhaps maybe a couple of links from your own. Now, one of the things that I've found that's very, very important is that this e-newsletter is not about your magazine. When it's sent out, it's about being a resource to advertisers that are very busy. So they don't have a lot of time to read. So what you're doing is you're collating, okay, or you're curating a few pieces of content. This is text only, and you're sharing it in a very, very simple format to all of them. So we've eliminated a lot of the problems that a lot of you might have, which is, listen, I don't have time to create this. I don't have a template. I don't know how to do HTML. All we're doing is talking about setting a calendar date and going to industry websites or bigger corporate websites and finding 3 or 4 pieces of information that you can share with your advertisers to help them in marketing your business. Remember, this is not about your magazine. This is about educating advertisers about marketing and also positioning you as a resource. Here's an important note. I think it's very important for all of us to understand this. If the only time you call on an advertiser is to sell them something, you are seen as a salesperson, period. If you take the time to share resources with an advertiser and then you're not always calling to sell them something, you are seen as a resource. Now, you want to make sure your brand is prominent, okay, at the top of this industry advisor or industry update or whatever it is that you want to call it. But again, you have to remember something. It's about your brand, but it's not about your brand. So you don't want every story that's listed in this advisor e-newsletter or marketing update or whatever you want to call it to be from your website. It's really important that you understand that. Now, the fifth thing, it's very important that everything you share is uber relevant, crazy relevant, super relevant to them. You want it to be seen as a resource. Now, you might say, well, Ryan, I'm confused here. How does this educate our advertisers? What I want you to consider doing is you want to find articles that will help them better understand how to run their business or market their business. Let me give you an example. This morning on Inc.com are 4 or 5 articles that are very specific to hiring good salespeople, finding a good marketing director, and 10 ways to motivate your team. All 3 of those potentially are relevant to all of you that are on this webinar today and are relevant to a small, mid-size, or even large business owner. Now, it's important as we roll forward in all of our ideas for you to understand that I don't expect you're going to execute every single thing we talk about today. As a matter of fact, you might not like idea number 1, but stay with us because as we walk through these, I think you're going to see a game plan that's really played out. Okay, we're going to play the whole football game together. I'm going to show you one play at a time. All right? So idea number 1 was, in 2014, begin creating a monthly marketing advisor update or an industry update that is sent each month from your sales team or specific salespeople to your advertisers as a way to educate them and become a resource to them. All right. Now, if you have questions, please be sure to chat them across, and we're going to put them into a queue. And here at the end, after idea number 5, we're going to field those questions and give you some good answers. So I see some questions coming in, so that's great. And keep them rolling in, and we'll answer them here in just a few minutes. All right, idea number 2, video marketing series. A video marketing series. All right, so what's our objective? And don't be afraid when you hear video, because a lot of you hear video, and what else do you hear? Ching, 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 ching. That's right. You're thinking to yourself, I hear money, Ryan, and I have no money to spend or not much to spend, and we're going to address that. What's our objective of idea number 2? To become a resource to advertisers by providing simple and relevant marketing information via a simple video learning series. Okay? Now, here's your steps to success on this particular idea. Number 1, many of you on this call, and I know some of you, you are guilty of paralysis by analysis, all right? And I'm not going to call you out by name, but I see you on the screen. You're there. I know you, all right? Remember, we're not looking to produce Steven Spielberg quality videos. Instead, what we're looking to do is to be really relevant. We want to keep these videos short, we want to keep them simple, and we want to keep them on point. Users love videos. One of the things, if you've been involved in any of my sales coaching, is I really advise you to have a lot of sales videos, because very often they don't want to hear from this guy, but guess what they'll do? They'll watch a video. So users love video. Now, remember, it's all about your brand, so we want to make sure that your brand is present, all right? And these videos are sent monthly to all the advertisers in your CRM database. Now, if you have a good CRM database, you should be able to break out or create lists of your advertisers. Now, let me give you an example. I have a lot of customers that use Magazine Manager as an example. So they've got a category, okay, a main category, which would be, if you were in a local market, banks, hospitals, or automobile dealers, or whatever it is. Then you would have a priority or a subcategory or a tag. You would tag them prospects, in progress, or active customers. So you might be sending this type of messaging to a particular group of advertisers. So maybe you don't want it to go to your actives, but you only want it to go to your prospects. That's why I mentioned here, you want to keep this data in your CRM tool, whatever it is, so that you can isolate people and send them different information. All right? Again, this is not about sales. This is not about deadlines. This is all about marketing information. All right? Now, what you do to make this simple is you find partners to talk about marketing issues, the ones that we mentioned, that are important to the advertiser. If you can, You want to use local business people, or if you're a national magazine, you want to find national people that are good speakers, okay, to talk on these videos. What I often do is I will actually, if I'm a national magazine on this webinar today, at a trade show, I will set those experts down and say, listen, we would love for you to talk about 4 things related to marketing, be specific, that are important to our advertisers for just 3 or 4 minutes, and do it at a trade show. If you're a local, okay, if you're a local company, a local magazine, all right, city or regional, what you may consider doing is going and finding an agency that's local that has an SEO expert to talk about SEO. You might find an agency to talk about ad frequency. Remember, when partnering with these people, it gives them exposure. So because it gives them exposure, there's something they should do for free. If they want to be paid for this, I don't really know that that makes a lot of sense, because they're going to get good exposure to your advertisers. Maybe you find a lawyer to talk about legal issues. Maybe you find a CPA to talk about tax issues. There's 100 ways to Sunday that you can address those 4 main issues, and we'll talk more about it a little bit later. But for me, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to hire a video crew that's very, very inexpensive. Let me give you some thoughts on that. Number one, if you're a city and regional magazine on this webinar today, you can very easily trade out with a local wedding videographer, or a local production company, or a local event videographer. Now, one of the things, there's a misconception that if you live in a big city, video crews are expensive. They are expensive if you hire a company that has a crew. Now, let me be clear on something. I understand crews because we have video crews here. But when I'm doing these type of things, I'm looking for a single camera operator, a small setup, and for the most part, in most markets, large and small. I just did this in Chicago, which is going to be the 3rd largest media market in the country, okay? And I was able to find a video crew, a single videographer that on the weekends shoots weddings, and they were able to work for $300, $400 a day, and they were able to edit for the same fee. So I was able to create an educational learning series in Chicago, okay, for less than $1,000. Now, what you may consider doing is trading with them, or what I like to do is just pay them outright, because you know how trade goes sometimes. It ends up being a little crazy. Now, if you absolutely don't have any resources at all, reach out to me after the call. We've got video crews that we're happy to send your direction. But just to give you an idea on budget, typically we can shoot 6 videos for about $2,500. Now, that's not a sales pitch to you, although I'm sure it might come across as that. It's just to give you a good understanding of what we can do, and I feel there's a lot of really good video companies that can do that for you as well. So idea number two is to create short video series that address marketing issues that you can present to your advertisers on a monthly basis. Now, one of the things that was left off the slide because of I just didn't put it on, where do you house these? I will typically always create an advertiser education program and create it on a YouTube channel. I will create a YouTube channel. There's a couple reasons why. One, it's going to help with SEO. Okay, it's going to help me. Also, it makes it widely available. But what you might consider doing is putting it on your advertising page on your website. So all of you, I'm sure, have an advertising tab on your website. It goes over there, and then you're able to click on that tab and find out about advertising. Now, let me give you a couple of tidbits, a couple of secrets here, what I do. Before someone gets to those videos, I'll usually tell them you can get to our media kit and a series of 20-minute videos or whatever it is. All we need to get is your email address and your phone number or your name or something like that. Use it as a lead generator. Now, the secret to this, and many of you on this call have followed this advice and had great success. As a matter of fact, I can see Terry that's on this call. Terry would tell you if you talked to her that she was able to now she brings in 30 leads a month, and before she might have had 2 or 3 phone calls and a couple emails. Now she knows when people are downloading the media kit, and she knows when people are watching her videos online. Ask for just a couple pieces of information before you let them into your self-service sales environment. Now, self-service sales, a lot of it has to do with advertiser education, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Now, as a side note, why is education so important? Because people will buy things from you if they understand why you're asking them for more money. In addition to that, people will pay more for things when they understand. Now, what's the proof I have? Can I prove that to you? Absolutely. Why do people pay more for a Lexus when they know it's a high-end Toyota? Because they're knowledgeable. And I don't think anybody's fooled, okay? Why do people pay more for an Audi when they know that it's a high-end Volkswagen, okay? Nobody's fooling anybody here. Why do people pay more for a Mercedes when they know that it's a high-end Mercedes? That's a joke. Remember, here's the point. People will pay more for something if they accurately understand what it is you're selling. Here's the problem. I work with media sales reps, rookies and veterans, young and old, okay? And the fact of the matter is this. Very rarely do I run across a salesperson that does a good job educating their customers. Typically, they've perfected their pitch. They followed advice of sales trainers from years gone by, and they've perfected their pitch. They don't ask good questions, and they don't educate in advance. I'm looking for the easy path, guys. I'm not looking for, oh my gosh, what can I do to pursue the hardest prospect possible? I want an easy path. I want a path of least resistance. If I can educate someone in advance before I have a sales call, then what do? They ask me questions. I want educated advertisers. Educated advertisers, are they dangerous? Well, yeah, a little bit, but I still love them because it helps me in the sales process. All right, now idea number 3, automated sales support emails. Automated sales support emails. Idea number 3 is important because here's our objective. Our objective is to increase the number of times an advertiser is touched by our brand, our magazine brand, in a positive way each month. So the objective of idea number 3, okay, is to increase the number of times an advertiser is touched by our brand in a positive way each month. And I might note a non-sales way, okay? Remember something, I hear this comment a lot. Ryan, it's refreshing to talk to you or buy media from you because you're not the typical salesperson. Now, I understand what they're saying. I do my level best to be a resource to people. That's so important to me. All right, so how do we do this? Number 1, we all preach frequency, but we don't follow our own advice. As media companies, we fail miserably at marketing to and educating our customers who are advertisers. Now, advertisers appreciate thoughtful touch points each month. Now, some of you are on this webinar today saying, oh gosh, Ryan, really? Now we're sending them something else in an email? How many emails should we send? These people are going to get so tired of hearing from us. You know, very rarely am I ever accused of over-communicating. Very rarely. Now, oversharing? Perhaps, but not over-communicating, okay? It's important for you to understand that when you are touching your advertisers, okay, you have to make sure you have more than not a lot of touches that are non-sales related. If every time you touch your advertiser, you're trying to sell them something or pitch them something, again, you are seen as a salesperson. This is not about selling to them. This is about letting them know you understand their pain and you are a resource, okay? Now again, many of you will not be able to resist putting a little promo piece, just a little promo plug. Come on, Ryan, just a little bitty plug in there for the next issue that's coming up. Trust me on this. If you want to be seen as a resource, avoid the promotional plugs. There's plenty of time for that. Now, every email service provider, or ESP, okay, is going to offer to you the ability to create and schedule automated email blasts, all right? Again, so important to follow me on this. These e-newsletters we're sending out are text only. I don't want you to send HTML. Why would you want to send HTML to business people that typically can't open it correctly on their mobile phone and it looks like spam or it looks like a standard e-newsletter? I want it to look like it's just coming from me, and I have great success with this. Now, what are some things that you can do in an automated way? I was surprised to learn last week from a very large company that I was working with that they don't ever send out a thank you email saying, hey, thanks for being an advertiser. That's the end of it. That's it. So what I do in January, so this is right around the corner, I'm going to create this task. What I do is I actually write 12 thank you emails. What do they look like? It would say, hey, Mike, really appreciate your business in December. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Please let me know. Ryan, and that's it. In my email service provider system, whether it's ExactTarget, StreamSend, Contactology, whatever it is, I'm going to then schedule that to go out on February 2nd or whatever it is. All right, let me give you another example. Upcoming editorial issues. Okay, what are some things coming up? You want to phrase this, okay, in such a way that it doesn't come across as being a sales pitch. You might say, hey, Mike, I wanted to let you know that in March, we're going to be covering these particular topics. Love to chat with you about that to see if it makes a difference to your business or whatever it is, okay? You would schedule that. Remember, I'm creating these in January. Schedule that to go out, say, March 1st or March 2nd. So in January, what I do is I set these all up in advance. So when I'm on the road, all of a sudden they keep right on going. I can do all of this in January, use the automation in the email system to very easily be able to set these up and send them. Now, many of you, when it comes to communication with your customers, you feel like you need to be thorough, you feel like it has to be very complete. What I have found is if I can actually create emails that talk about events that are coming up, industry updates that are coming up, maybe webinars that are coming up that they might want to be interested in. I found something on LinkedIn that they might be interested in. Now, the other thing I like to do is once a year, I like an email to come from the publisher or come from the sales manager. Now, one of the interesting things about that is it's a shocker. All of a sudden, an advertiser is able to get from the publisher an email that says, I appreciate your business, thanks so much. That can be set up, automated as well. Again, this is the trick. I'm going to do them in January so I can set it and forget it. Okay? I'm going to set it and forget it. Now, the monthly marketing advisors that I just told you about, idea number 1, now those I typically do every month. I do them in real time to make sure I have some really good, relevant data. But the interesting thing is this about advertiser education. A lot of it is being out in front of that advertiser on a real frequent basis in a non-sales way. All right, let me give you some other thoughtful advice from an educational perspective. You might already know of a video that's online, okay, that you've already created, okay, with a local partner or whatever. You can also set those up in an automated way to be sent out. See, I'm not looking for more work, okay? I'm not looking for more stress. I'm not looking for more work. I'm looking for simple, easy ways to communicate with my advertisers in a non-threatening way to keep my name in front of them. If for even 1 second you're thinking to yourself, this is not me. They don't want to hear from me this often. Let me share something with you. It wasn't that long ago that I was in Florida and working with a pretty big company. And there was a guy that sat in the room and he said, Ryan, this type of communication with my advertisers is going to tick them off. They don't want to hear from me. They just don't want to hear from me. It wasn't but 2 days later that I got an email back from that exact same person. They put a couple of these plans in place, and I said a few months later rather, that he contacted me back and sent me an email from an advertiser. And the email said something like this: Dear John, or I forget what his name was. Dear John, I just want to thank you for the information that you've been sending me. I've really been struggling with my business. The thoughtful communications that you've sent to me have been very, very helpful. John was able to call on that person in a non-sales way. He was able to consult with them. He was able to close some business. I've got a company that's in central Iowa that implemented this type of program. And now when they call their advertisers, they're reporting back to me that their advertisers actually call them back. I mean, how about that for a change? Advertisers that actually call you back. Why would they call you back? Well, I think they would call you back because you're a resource to them. You're not just a lone salesperson that's out there. So don't forget this idea. This idea is all about automation, doing things in January that you can automate to send out all throughout the year. And I think it's really important. All right, fourth idea for you. Are you ready, my friends? All right, idea number 4 is Lunch and Learn series, a Lunch and Learn series. Now, there's 2 ways to handle this. If you're local, okay, you're going to be able to do this maybe in a local hotel or something like that. If you're national, you can do it based on webinars, okay, just like the webinar that we're doing here today. And so companies like WebAttract, Mike does this all the time. As a matter of fact, I don't know, I think Mike sleeps in front of his computer for all the webinars that he does, okay, and his company does. So the objective here is to become a resource to those advertisers by providing them live, okay, simple, relevant marketing information or industry insights via seminars on a quarterly basis, Let me give you an example. It wasn't that long ago that I was working with Country Roads Magazine in beautiful Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And what they did is each salesperson invited, I believe, something like 10 people, 10 advertisers to come to a small hotel room, and we fed them lunch. We told the advertisers it was not going to be about sales. It was all about social media marketing. And the folks there, and Ashley and everybody brought me in to speak to this group, and we also did some ad sales training while we were there, but we were speaking to the advertisers in a non-sales way. Let me tell you something. You would have thought that I held the secret to everything marketing in the universe. These advertisers were literally just writing, just mad, taking notes. And I finally just said, let's pause for a second. What I'm talking to you about is not something necessarily new or revolutionary. You're taking notes as if this is the end of the world. Tell me what's going on. And they said, you know what? No one's ever done this. No one's presented this type of information. Now, I had them live in front of me. I also have some B2B magazines that are national. What they would do is the exact same thing. They would actually invite advertisers to a webinar just like this. They use a company like WebAttract, or some of them do it themselves, to be able to present information just like we're doing today, but on a specific topic. Now, the steps to success are very important. And I think this is a critical idea. And so that's why I want to share this with you in intimate detail, okay? First of all, you have to plan in advance. This is not something that you can put together at the last minute. Now, Mike and I, in preparation for our webinar today, we met 5, 6, 8 times. We had a lot of promotion involved. We met together to review the slides. We talked together as a speaker. We made sure that I had a blue light behind me and to make sure that it looked good and things like that, and a shirt that matched. How about that, by the way? All right. We planned it well in advance, all right? Now, each sales rep invites 10 to 12 people, and that's critical because when you're there at the Lunch and Learn or on the webinar, you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to say hello and interact with your advertisers. Now, the topics are chosen a year in advance. The topics can either be the ones that I've mentioned to you that are very important, or perhaps you're an association. Perhaps you're an industry-leading association. There might be topics that you need to present that are important. Now, one of the things that many publishers fall victim to is that you think that you know what advertisers want. Let me be the person to pour cold water, okay, on that whole notion. Ask, present surveys. Don't go with your gut. Unfortunately, I've been a part of a lot of gut checks with publishers, unfortunately, that have been wrong. So I don't want you to fall victim to that. If you survey your advertisers and tell them we're bringing in an expert speaker to talk about marketing topics or topics that are important to you, what are the 4 or 5 things that you would love for us to cover or talk about? Remember this. People are more passionate when they're asked to participate in the process. I know that's a lot of alliteration for this early in the morning. People are more passionate when they're asked to participate in the process. The whole essence of the book that I'm almost done writing here over the holidays is selling backwards. It's all about starting with the advertiser, asking them what they want, asking them what topics you want them to cover. Now, you could actually create a series, maybe a woman in business series, or women in business rather, series, maybe a technology provider's luncheon, maybe a healthcare provider luncheon. But don't forget, doing this live, okay, is always a lot more effective, but you can also do it in a webinar-based format. Live just allows you to have a much better ability to be able to react and kind of ebb with the flow. Now, important. You have to promise your advertisers this is non-sales. This is not going to be a sales pitch. And then don't violate that promise. You'll get away with it one time. Let me give an example. Not that long ago, a fairly big publisher put on a lunch and learn in New York City. They promised it was going to be all about marketing. And at the end, okay, they had 15 minutes of a sales pitch. Let me tell you something. People were not very happy, okay, because they were told it was not going to be about sales, all right? And then it was all about the sales pitch. Now, today, obviously, I have the opportunity to provide some of these things to you, but I want you to recognize what this webinar is all about. This webinar is about me helping you and Mike helping you to be able to use tools at your disposal to better educate your advertisers, okay? It's not that you can't talk to these advertisers about marketing opportunities, but you want to create an environment to expand their educational premise, okay? Now, it's important to promise that. Now, do not try to sneak in a sales pitch, and you want to make sure that every speaker that you hire is good. You want to make sure they practice in advance, because if they're not good, Lunch and Learn number 2 or webinar number 2 is going to have about 0 attendance, okay? It's going to have about 0 attendance. So you've got to work with these people in advance. How successful are Lunch and Learns? Okay, how successful are they? Lunch and Learns are so successful for some of my customers that now they charge for people to attend them. How about that? I've got at least 6 publishers that their Lunch and Learns have become so successful, they actually charge people to attend. So it's actually become a revenue resource for them. That's how good they've become. Now, let me mention again the Women in Business, because it's really, really popular in a couple of my markets. Women in Business is a quarterly luncheon that only women attend, led by women, planned by women, and the women are women as speakers and hosts. The panels are women. It is so popular and so powerful that now people pay for their own lunch to attend these. Technology is a great one. But the fact of the matter is this: no matter how big or small your publication is, you can make local Lunch and Learns, or whatever you want to call, a huge educational opportunity. If you explain to people truly what social media marketing is actually all about, they're going to understand that if they turn to you as a media resource, okay, if they turn to you as a media resource, they're actually going to have a better, expanded social media opportunity. All right, on to our last idea. And keep your questions coming in, because we're going to have a poll here in a second, and then we're going to field your questions for the last 10, 12 minutes of our call. Idea number 5, and I mentioned it briefly, but let me give you some detail, and that is putting together a strategic educational business webinar series, okay, just like what you're seeing here today, some type of strategic business webinar series. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can handle it. One, you can potentially put on a marketing topics or industry topics, and you can actually sell sponsorships to it, okay, and that's very, very common. Or you can put it together in just one simple effort, and that is for you to be able to educate your advertisers. So the goal here of a strategic business webinar series, and I know people that do this locally as well, is to become a resource to advertisers by providing simple and relevant marketing information via these kind of webinars on a quarterly basis. Now, some of you might be saying that, Ryan, there's just no way that I could potentially put something like this together. Remember, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of people out there that can help. It's planned quarterly, all right? Now, with a webinar, you can invite more people. So each sales rep is given the directive, okay, to invite 10 to 20 people, okay? It's really, really important. Now, they're going to follow up with those people, And if you use the right product, okay, for example, we're using GoToWebinar today, you can actually integrate the invitations into the webinar invitation, okay? Now, the topics are always chosen in advance, and it's really, really important for all of you to choose the topics in advance. People need a lot of lead time to be a part of this type of educational environment. Again, you want to promise to them no sales pitch, okay? You want to make it happen, and you want to make sure that they understand that they're coming for a reason. Now, what are some of the main issues that most business owners, again, want to hear about on these type of webinars, okay? They want to hear about search engine optimization. They want to hear about ad frequency. They want to hear about legal matters. They want to hear about tax issues. I think a lot of you know some of the issues that are important to your advertisers. Now, if for a second you think, wow, okay, Ryan, that's a cool idea. How potentially do I make that happen? Now, for me, I want you to understand that working with somebody like Mike, this has been really easy for me. So you can look at that resource. There's a lot of resources that are online, all right? All right, so there are 5 ideas for you, okay? So let me take a quick poll real quick, and then we're going to get to your questions. So start sending your questions in. All right, so here is the poll. And the poll is, which of these 5 ideas, okay, that I just talked through, could you potentially use or launch in 2014? All right? How about monthly advisor e-newsletters? If you like that one, click on that one. How about a video marketing series? Okay, you can check on that one. Automated sales support emails. Okay, how about that one? Let's be a good one there. A lunch and learn series. And then the last one we talked about, which I think is great, which is strategic business webinar. So submit your answers there. Choose what you like. All right, so let's talk through these real quick before we go back to the presentation, Mike. The monthly advisor e-newsletter obviously is pretty straightforward. Now, again, a couple of points of note on that, and then we'll get to the questions. Keep it simple. Don't involve the editorial team. It's not that I don't love the editorial team. Love my editors, okay? They're just busy enough. So keep it simple. Keep it text only. The video marketing series is a really, really good idea. The reason it probably came in at 33% is you're afraid that it's going to be expensive or you don't have the resources. Reach out to me via email. I'll give you a PDF that explains how to do these absolutely free. Automated sales emails. Every email service provider should be able to make that happen for you. Again, I'm a resource to you, okay? It's not a sales pitch, it's the truth. So you reach out. Lunch and learns are pretty easy to implement. It's straightforward and pretty good. Strategic business webinars, the reason that most people don't do them is because they don't know how or they think they're expensive. So here's something that we'd love to be able to share with you, and then we'll get back to the questions. Well, we've decided to do, Mike and I have gotten together based upon your comments, okay? We've actually gotten together, and what we've decided to do is we're putting together webinars for you that you can use for your advertisers, okay? Now, to that end, what we can do is we can actually put together those 4 webinars for you, okay, and offer them to you, and there's not really that. We handle it all. So Ryan and Mike will handle it all for you, okay? I can be your speaker on the webinar on the topics that we've talked about. We can do it quarterly for you. All you would do is invite your advertisers, okay? And we've tried to put this together because a lot of you that are on this webinar today have said, Ryan, I want to do webinars for my advertisers. One of the questions that came in, how do I educate? I'm an association. How do I educate my folks? We don't have any resources. That's where Mike and I have come together. So here's our 4 webinar topics for 2014 if you want to get involved. And then we'll get to your questions. How to correctly use social media to market my business. Number 2, how to use video to drive my business marketing plans. In third quarter, 10 ways to make your website perform better for your business. 4, 10 ways to market your business better and save money doing it. And that's something that Mike and I have the ability to offer to all of you. And the price is around $7,500 a year, and we can customize it specifically for you.
So let's get with the first question here.
All
and
right.
There are, let me go to this one here.
Okay.
This is from Mark. We sent over 1,000 videos out to clients and possible clients. The sales staff and editor were on the video talking about stats for magazine advertising and our readers, buyer power, etc. We never got a good bounce from it. What's your advice? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, kudos to you for going to that effort. The one thing I hear there, and I'd love to talk to you, Mark, more about it later on, is that probably the topics were not specifically, maybe, okay, not specifically aligned with exactly what the advertisers wanted to hear about. So I would say that might have something to do with it. The other could be the time, okay, the time that they were sent. The other might be the format in which they were sent. And because maybe we can talk about it later, I also don't know how the videos were loaded and available on the internet. As an example, I recently loaded a bunch of videos into Vimeo. Well, unfortunately, I found out that about half of the people that I actually sent that to, about half of them actually couldn't view Vimeo at all. And they could view YouTube. So I think there's a lot of variables there, Mark, but first of all, kudos to you for making that happen. And maybe there's just some small tweaks that you can do to make it more successful.
Here's one from Terry. Actually, it says, for local webinars, is there a time of day that works best? Mind if I chime in on this one?
Take it.
All right. Terry, the best day of the week for webinars is either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And the time that we find is usually 11 a.m. local time. That seems to be between 11 and 12 is a good time to do it. The real answer is, how compelling of a topic is it? Not that build it and they will come, but if it's a compelling topic, they will come. And then your second part of this, Terry, is what does frequency of webinars matter? Again, if it's great information and you're educating people, certainly you want to space it out, but people who are going to learn something will attend your webinars.
Right.
So Ryan, here's one for you.
Okay.
This says, this is from Lou. What is the recommended length of a lunch and learn session? What do you recommend as far as the length?
Yeah, so you got two factors to it, Lou. The first factor is if you're serving lunch, okay, so you want to allow people to have an opportunity to eat their lunch, because a lot of times they want to be able to take notes. And it's a very common mistake is to serve people lunch on maybe a sandwich buffet or something like that, and then the presenter begins while they're eating, okay, in an effort to try to save time. The complaint that I hear on a very regular basis is, hey, I wanted to visit with people at the table. I wanted to be able to take notes, and I couldn't because you started in the middle of my meal. So typically what we do is we'll meet for lunch at 12 o'clock. At 12:30, people have had an opportunity to eat the lunch, and then we begin the presentation. The presentation is approximately 30 minutes. We leave 15 minutes for Q&A. Most people are out the door in about an hour and 15. But what I also do that I think is important is I ask the speaker to stick around and be able to meet people one-on-one. And then, it gives the people an opportunity to really make sure they feel like they've got their questions answered. So about an hour 15, but make sure you give people a chance to eat lunch. All
right. We've got questions from Karen and Dustin and Jim. Let's go with Karen. Ryan, if we do your marketing series, we need to obviously practice what we preach. What if we cannot be a good example? What's your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Well, there are 6 words you can always fall back on. Do you want fries with that? So if you can't practice what you preach, McDonald's is always hiring. I'm kidding, okay? I'm joking, all right? For me, those of you that know me know that I'm a bit of a jovial individual, okay? For me, a lot of times there has to be a cultural shift within your media company to make these things actually effective and make them happen. As Jim Collins said in the Good to Great book, okay, of several years ago, you've got to get the right people on the bus. You don't know the number of times that I meet with organizations and they have the wrong salespeople on the bus, people that just can't execute. And the fact of the matter is, it's going to be vividly important. If you're going to have success with this, you've got to be able to walk the walk. You've got to be able to talk the talk. And so if you can't make that happen, then I think you've got to go some other directions. And a lot of it is a lot to do with, with people. A lot of it's a lot to do with people. So,
Ryan, Gary wants to know: do you have generic videos we could buy to use in our market?
Generic videos, maybe on just social media or something like that. We do actually have those, and it's something I've got to figure out if there's any branding on them Man, that's a great idea. Reach out to me via email on that, Gary, and I have a lot of videos on marketing and social media, and maybe we can figure out a way to customize those or create those just for you. That's a really a great idea. So I think I know the Gary that's calling, so now he'll want a commission on that idea. So
thanks, Gary, and thanks, Ryan. Terry, here's your question. How do subject lines affect opens? What works best? Ryan, I can weigh in on that. If you want to, do you want to take it? Or do you want me to go for it?
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll add some of my own.
Sure. Terry and everybody in the audience, the number one driver for predictable outcomes on email marketing is your subject line. Think about it. We all get more than enough emails every day. If the subject line doesn't grab our attention, we're not even going to look at it. If we don't look at it, we're not going to open it. If we don't open it, we don't read it, we don't take any action on it. So the subject lines that affect opens the best are the ones that are straightforward. If it's a webinar, you put a little bracket in front of it and says webinar. If it's a case study, and you put it out. If you look at the subject lines for today's webinar, it was straightforward. Ryan Dohrn has 5 ways to help you educate advertisers in 2014. And in some cases, we would personalize it. So people will look at it. They recognize who Ryan is. If there is a credibility of an editor or somebody that you can use, put that in there. But absolutely, subject lines are the most important thing in any email marketing. Ryan?
Yeah, and so I also like to make sure that the subject lines are fairly concise, fairly short. When I'm doing things, some of my favorites are a new idea for you. I like to put for you in there. I also noticed in a campaign we ran 2 weeks ago, when we include their first name, we went from about a 15% open rate to about a 25% open rate when we included their first name. I always like to mention new ideas, a success story for you. But one of the things that I do a lot, and I hope you'll copy this and steal this, is 5 ways to grow your business. 5 ways, because it makes it tangible. 5 things you can do in 2014 to educate your advertisers. 10 things you can do in 2014 to market your business better. And people love lists. And so if you can put something tangible on it in terms of numbers, that's also very helpful. If you want to guarantee someone will open an email, make this as the subject line. I know your mistress's phone number. That always works. So.
Thanks, Ryan.
It's a joke.
I'm laughing. Here's a question.
Question
from Jim, which really follows on the email blast. And Jim wants to know, is there a good day and time for these?
Yes, and I disagree with every expert that says they're not, because I don't know how email experts can say there is not a good day and not a good time, because I send thousands of emails a month and I can pinpoint it down to the exact moment. So let me share with you what all my publishers are really seeing, and I'll share with you the psychology. Monday mornings are horrible because what are people doing when they come to work? They're in delete mode. They've been out all weekend, and so they're in delete mode. So anytime Monday morning is a horrible, horrible time to send emails. Think about natural human psychology, okay? At noon, someone goes to lunch. They come back around 1 o'clock, okay? At 1 o'clock, everyone thinks, oh, well, they'll be sitting in front of their email. That's a great time to send. No, it's not, because then, once again, people are in delete mode, okay? So what are the 2 times of the day that I always get great opens, okay? First of all, I don't send emails on Monday. People are too busy. So Monday is out. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are prime for me. What time of day do most people not schedule meetings? 11:30. Why do they not schedule a meeting at 11:30 or 11:45? Because they don't want to interrupt their lunch. Great time to send. 4:30 in the afternoon. Why is that a good time to send? Because people typically don't book meetings at 4:30. Why? They don't want to interrupt the end of the day. So 4:30 is another good time to send. Now, I typically don't send on Fridays because I tend to get a lot of people that are out of the office. But I will tell you a little secret. I will often send emails on Saturday mornings. And let me tell you something. I sent that email to a lot of you, and my response rate on the email on a Saturday morning for me was over 50%. Now, some people responded, why are you working on Saturday? But the fact of the matter is, not a lot of email comes in first thing on Saturday morning. Now, from a business perspective, I would choose 11:30 a.m. in their time zone or 4:30 p.m. in their time zone, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And I disagree with everybody that says you can't predict it, because I have seen it and I live it and I love it because I know it.
Ryan, we've got two more. This is from Kevin.
Okay.
Do you have examples of newsletters or a template we can follow?
I do have. So if you reach out to me, Ryan at 360adsales.com, be happy to send you the template that I provide at absolutely no charge. So yeah, just my email's there on the screen, Ryan at 360adsales.com.
And here's an appropriate one to wrap up with. This is from Lou.
Okay.
Please give your ranking of the most valuable of the 5 ideas that you shared today for increasing sales.
Sure. For me, the most important is the Advertiser, is the Advisor e-newsletter that goes out. So I like that one because I think that it's very, very relevant and it's very resource driven. Okay. Second for me would be the automated emails. They're easy to do. They're very straightforward. I think that they should be a part of, everybody's plan. Number 3, I really, really like the video learning series. Videos, people watch them, people share them, people like them, and they aid in your SEO. Lunch and learns and strategic business webinars, I think, would be like a 50-50 split. Obviously, if I had my choice, I would always prefer to be in front of people live so I can get their pulse, really touch them, really see them. But as you can tell today from this webinar, it's not that they're hard to put together. You just need some assistance. There's really no reason for you to do this on your own if there's people like Mike and WebAttract that can help you with that do thousands of these a year. Because if you do it right, you'll get a great response. If you do it wrong, webinar number 2 will not be very well attended. So I'm really pleased with my partnership with Mike. I hope you all are very pleased with our ability to offer you a really cool service of some webinars in 2014. Reach out to us, and for a complimentary meeting, we'll be happy to meet with all of you about that.
Well, folks, we're at that time, and we really want to thank you all again for joining us, and hope you did find today of value. I know as we're getting closer and closer to the holidays, it's harder to keep to these meetings, so it really means a lot to Ryan and myself that you were able to join us. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time and participating and sharing your great ideas on this webinar. And again, this is your moderator, Mike Agron, saying to all of you, thanks so much for joining us. Have a happy holiday season and a very prosperous 2014, and bye for now.